Well, would you look at what we have here? 1972 Cuda. It's here for a bunch of electrical repairs to can pass a safety inspection. One of the problems is the backup lights don't work. And it's a manual 4-speed. So if I put it in reverse, now why isn't that in reverse? That's a reverse indicator light. Oh, I didn't have the key on. But the backup lights are on back there now. I don't know if you can see them in my mirror. But when I pull the shifter just a little bit, just like this, you can see that goes on and off. So there's an adjustment issue or linkage issue or something. The other problem is the windshield washer doesn't work. And the wipers, there's low, there's high. But when you shut them off, they park in the up position. Now, I don't know how he got it in the down position. Maybe he manually pushed them down. The windshield washers don't work. The switch manually turns on when you indicate it. But let's have a look at the windshield washer. So as I suspected, there is no washer. I don't know if that was standard equipment. I think this is the spot where the windshield washer nozzles go, in these little holes here. But they're non-existent. There's no reservoir. There is no pump. There's no hoses, no lines. So we'll have to deal with that, or a customer's going to have to deal with that, because putting all that stuff in is very time consuming. So here's the shop list. Reverse lights, wipers stop in the middle, get stuck on the hood. No, they don't. They are touching the hood, but that's not the cause of them stopping. Window washers, non-existent. Dash lights. Dash lights. Well, let's have a look. If I turn the headlights, park lights on, the turn signal indicators light up. That could be a bad ground on the turn signals on the front. That turn signal flashes. Park lights on. Turn signals don't work with the park lights on. Turn signal indicator goes out. Oh, the right side blinks slowly. Well, that's another concern. And the dash lights obviously don't work. I don't know if that problem's related. Maybe a bad ground on the instrument cluster. But which means taking the instrument cluster out. We're looking at fuses. Oh boy. So I took the elbow out of the mechanical fuel pump and put Teflon tape on the threads, the 90-degree elbow pointing down, and I reinstalled it. And hopefully that's going to fix the seeping fuel line at the fuel pump. Now I'm looking for service information on this thing, and there is zero service information. It's too old. Nobody has wiring diagrams, all data, Mitchell, shop key, Identifix. Nobody has wiring diagrams. So this has got a recessed park system, and I think there's a park switch inside here that's screwing up, but without knowing how it works, there's a wire disconnected here. What's that wire for? Damn. I also checked the reverse light switch. It's a switch in the transmission that's operated by linkage and a ball spring-loaded ball. And I can make it go on and off by just moving the reverse gear shift linkage just ever so slightly. So I might try a new switch in there to see if it's worn out or something, but that's minor. I need a wiring diagram to know how this thing works. So on closer examination, these wires are not cut off. They are spliced, and that looks like factory splices. I've searched online for wiring diagrams, and no luck so far. Nothing for free, that's for sure. Now, trying to remember back in the 70s when the parking light grounded through, or the marker light grounded, but this turn signal doesn't work, or this park light doesn't work. This should be on right now. They didn't call that as part of the safety. So maybe there's a bad ground on this, and it's grounding through the turn signal bulb. Well, that's a dual filament bulb, 1157 NA, and there's only 2 wires running to it. Now there is a third wire up here that's not plugged in. There's no power on it with the park lights on. But now the turn signals don't work anymore either. I got a battery charger on it. I got this turn signal on, and they stopped blinking. So there is the washer reservoir over on the right hand side. And there's a wire here, there's a hose here, nothing attached to it. Looks like a ground wire. I'm going to put power and ground to this and see if the washer pump even works. But I mean, we're still missing the washer nozzles. And where's the rest of the wiring? Who knows? From the switch. I'm sure it's power side controlled. So we've got power from the alternator output terminal on this jumper wire, and I've grounded it. Oh, the hose is, well, the pump is pumping. It sounds a little rough. So the pump would work, but where's the rest of the wiring? I would imagine there's a wire coming off of the wiper harness coming out of the firewall. But I really need a schematic. Those marker lights I don't think are factory. Again, I need a schematic to know for sure. Oh well, one thing at a time. So I did find a diagram for a 72 Cuda online, and it's not wired like the GM ones where the fender light has its own ground, but the left-hand park and directional light should have 3 wires to it, unless it's using, or could be using one as a ground. Could be grounded through its mount, but it's bolted to the plastic. Well, that would make sense. If it's bolted to the plastic and hasn't got a ground, then when you put the parking lights on, this wire would find its ground through the turn signal indicator in the dash, because I'm sure this goes back to the left-hand turn signal indicator. Oops, I gotta drag it. So black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. I lost it. Black and yellow, okay. Right marker light. Right fender light. Well, I'm going to see if the two wires there, maybe those lights just need to be grounded. I'll try that because it shows two wires and ground through its mounting screws. Let's have a look at it. So this panel that it's bolted to appears to be aluminum. But if I take the test light and touch it on the body of the light here, you can see the test light lights because there's no ground, and the park light filament comes on. I'm not sure if I got the park. Yeah, see? Same thing. So let's ground these and see if the signal lights and parking lights work. So with the ground supplied to those two lights, the park lights appear to work. Let's let it down and see if the turn signal indicators are still illuminated. So now with the dash lights, or the parking lights on, the turn signal indicators are not illuminated. I'm going to take the right one off, right ground off. So the right side ground is off. And the turn signal indicator illuminates. But that doesn't explain why the turn signals don't work now. Maybe the flasher died? No, it's trying to flash. I got a battery charger on it in case the battery's getting weak. I'm going to check the battery voltage. So I got the dash dimmer disconnected. This black-yellow wire in this terminal has power when the parking lights are on. And I'm assuming these yellow wires go out to the dash lights, because this is an example of a dash light. This is to light up the switches. This is to light up the instrumentation. But I got to check for power coming out of this dimmer. I got power going in. Probably the dimmer is burnt out. Maybe it's failed. The dash lights are grounded all the time. Well, this is metal. There's only one wire to it, so this has got to be grounded to the body for these dash lights to work. 1970s stuff. So I got power on the black-yellow wire, and I got power on the brown wire in the middle, but no power on the yellow wire coming out of that dimmer. I'm not sure how that dimmer works because it's got 3 wires on it. And it doesn't look like it's easy to take off. Maybe I'll try and take it off and have a look at it. So I tried jumping the black-yellow wire to the yellow wire, and it was obviously a short. I could see the park lights turn off. So I'm thinking now that that dimmer or rheostat could be fried and there could be a short. Now it's got an aftermarket radio in it, and that's usually got backlighting too. So here's the dash dimmer switch, dimmer rheostat on the schematic. The tan wire, if you follow it, goes to the other page, and it goes to the fuse up here, which is good, by the way. So it's the tan wire that's feeding the... I gotta check that fuse. Maybe the fuse contacts is bad. But the yellow wire is for the interior lights. It goes down to this junction box down here, or this connector. Then under this one, and left courtesy light and right courtesy light, which don't work, by the way. So maybe that rheostat turns on the courtesy lights on that yellow circuit. I visually looked at the fuses. They're glass fuses, but maybe one of them's broken internally. So this yellow wire, or this tan wire, comes back to there's only 8 fuses in the fuse panel. It's above the gas pedal. I'm going to check that. So there is a fuse under the dash labeled INST-LPS, and that one has varying power to it. If I turn the rheostat down, the test light goes dim. So it comes out of there on these 2 orange wires, goes back over to this page. Doesn't show any other connector, goes to the radio, ashtray lights, glove box. No, it doesn't go to the glove box. Goes to the radio connector. In and out of the radio connector. Remember, this has got an aftermarket radio in it. And it goes to a bunch of splices. Heater. I'm going to backfeed power on the lights and make sure they work. So I tried putting power to the orange wire coming off what I believe to be the dash light circuit, and nothing happened. But then I decided I'd check for power, and as you can see, I do have power to the dash lights. The dash lights are grounded. I was thinking about this last night. If I turn the rheostat down, I can control the power that's coming from the dash lights. I wonder if I got power on this wire too. I do. So I have no ground. I'm wondering if this vehicle has no body ground. The battery's been relocated in the trunk here. And it's grounded on the sheet metal here. But it's like the dash has no ground. All the dash lights are one wire and grounded through their mount. These are a bunch of dash lights here. So theoretically, if I ground this, the dash light should come on. See, there's no ground. My test light is grounded. So put a ground wire on that. I believe those 3 orange wires are illumination for the dash gauges, and I ground it. They don't come on. So I'm wondering if there's a problem with the bulbs in there. Maybe the bulbs are burnt out. I'm not sure that there's lights in the actual dash, in the actual instrument cluster, but I believe there would be. Those bulbs are just burnt out. I took my ground wire off the right parking light. Now the right turn signal indicator is lit up. So there's the 4 illumination bulbs above the dash, and this is steel, and it's got to be grounded, because if I take the ground wire off, they all go out. Wow. I'm going to fix the grounds on that valence for the park lights. So I tried to take this lower valence off, and there's screws attaching it here and screws attaching it here. So I'm just going to make up 2 ground wires to go from the ear on the light to the body over here. That's probably better because I have no ground. If I put a test light on the ground, it lights up and the bulb lights up. So, and it's not this, it's this terminal is oxidized, this ear is oxidized. So I'm going to make up 2 ground wires to go to the rad shroud. So I made up 2 ground wires, soldered eyelets and heat shrunk them, and I'm connecting them to the lower valence mounting bolt. I've already done this side, so you can see the ground wire in there, and it's sandwiched between the ear and that bolt on the lower grill here. So we'll take this one off and do the same thing. You can see that light works now. I wonder if my signal light will work now. I've got a flasher coming because I think that flasher is weak. So there's the parking lights fixed. They're not the prettiest lights. They couldn't use new ones, but they function, so that's all that counts for now. He can pretty it up when he gets the vehicle in his possession. We'll see if the signal lights work now. Whoever says working on older cars is easy is full of shit. This 50-year-old vehicle is a pain in the ass to disassemble. Hidden screws from the back. This piece of dash is broken, I think, from when the radio was installed, but I didn't do it. And I was trying to take the instrument cluster out to check the bulbs. One of these plastic pieces here is melted. It's carries the light up to some kind of indicator on the dash. I'm not sure which one. It's not the turn signal indicator, because those are the 2 turn signal indicators right there. Wow. Old sheet metal screws, self-tapping screws. Well, we'll see if we can get the cluster out and check the bulbs in it. Looking at the back of this instrument cluster, there is an illumination bulb here, but that's a high beam indicator. I got the high beam on now, and that's the high beam indicator. And it's off now. And the only other illumination bulbs in the dash are the actual turn signal indicators, and whatever that bulb is over on the far corner, I got to look at this to see what it says. But there are no backlight illumination bulbs in this cluster. None whatsoever. And the cluster needs to be grounded. You can see there's only 1 wire to this high beam indicator, so it grounds through its mount. Like, oh boy. So the only illumination bulbs are these ones up here, which work if I ground this. I did change 3 of the bulbs, so maybe they didn't see them, but that looks like the only illumination bulbs. And if I turn the rheostat, you can turn them up and down. So I'm going to grease the speedometer cable because I have the speedo out. And I'm going to clean the lens on this thing, see if I can figure out what that 3rd bulb is there. That plastic thing is melted. So with a pair of needle nose pliers, you can pull the cable out and pack the housing full of white lithium grease and push the cable through the grease on the way back down to the transmission. Remember doing these back in the 70s and early 80s until electronic speedometers replaced these. And you don't want to leave too much grease in there because it might work its way into the speedo head mechanism. I'm just doing this because I have it off. You got to turn it to get it to index and push it in That's it. I'm going to try to clean up this gauge cluster face glass, and then again figure out what that bulb is that's melted. The housing is melted. It's not a turn signal indicator. Probably fasten seat. No, fasten seat belt light is over on the right hand side. Something that stayed on a long time. That's the brake warning indicator lights. We better make sure that's working, because technically that's supposed to work for a safety. Should come on for a bulb check during cranking, I think. Well, we'll see if it's working. So if I put the parking brake on, it comes on. I think it's supposed to come on during cranking too, but I'm not sure. Maybe not. I'm turning the key to start, but there's an override button on the starter. Well, it works, so that's all that matters. So to get this clear lens off, there's a whole bunch of metal-like rivets. Focus. That hold the lens on. They just pop off. A couple of them broke. But then the other problem that I have is this clock knob normally has a little standard screw in it but I tried a jeweler's screwdriver and it's way down inside, and looking at it with a borescope, it doesn't look like a screw. It doesn't look like it looks like it might be Phillips. Can't see it. Or an Allen, maybe. I'll try a couple different things. So I searched the internet for how to get the knob off, because I can't. I tried Allen wrenches, and I tried a standard screwdriver, and I tried a Phillips screwdriver. I look in there and it doesn't appear to have a head on it. Found this video.
So you can check that out. But once you have the instrument cluster out of the car, taking it down to the point where you can access the speedometer is super simple. There's a number of pins around the perimeter of the lens that you just remove, and once you remove those, and on the 72 to 74 rally gauges that have the reset knobs in the gauges, you need to remove the clock reset knob, which is held in with a screw. So you just take a narrow screwdriver, run it down the center of that knob.
I don't think so.
And then pull off the reset knob.
Unless the screw is missing. So there's the lens off. It was a standard screw down in there, but I had to grind the screwdriver shaft very thin, and it's like 1.5 inches in. So I had a small jeweler's screwdriver, but it was about 1 inch long and it wouldn't reach. I blew the hole out with compressed air and looked in there, and sure enough, there was this little slotted screw. Now this, for the brake light bulb, is supposed to be in here. So we're going to see if we can epoxy it in there or something. I'm sure there's none of these available, but look how dirty this lens is. I figured we're here now. Try to gingerly, carefully clean out the gauges. 50 years worth of dust. Well, there's the lens back on, but I can't think of a way to attach this thing. I looked on Google and I found a source for the 3 tubes in the... Now when I was playing with it, the bulb popped out the back and it's just friction fit in there, so I got to take the instrument cluster out. I tried reaching up over top of the radio and there's not enough room in there. So I got to put that bulb back in. I'm going to leave this indicator tube out and the customer can order it. The light will still work. It's just not going to shine properly through that lens, but it'll still work, so I'm sure it'll be okay. I cleaned out the gauges with Q-tips, and I cleaned the lens as much as possible, so that looks pretty good, but I got to take the cluster back out. Oh, and several of these push pins, I found some plastic rivets that worked. So let's pull the cluster out one more time. Wow, $158. That's US dollars. That's like over $200 plus shipping. I'll let the customer figure out where he's going to get these from. Maybe there's a part number here, OEM part number. No OEM part number. Well, dash lights. They're not backlit gauges. That's what you get from 1972. And to control them, that's as bright as they go. Let's see what the gear shift or the brake warning indicator looks like. It's still, yeah, but it lights up in here. So the light bleeds through, but that's only the brake warning indicator, so no big deal. I don't think he's going to worry about it. Well, the new flasher fixed the signal lights. And the signal light indicators work. Let's take the park brake off. We got to just fix one broken piece of plastic underneath the dash here with a washer. Well, there's the parking brake pedal pad. I stole one off of an F-150 in the lot outside. That's scrap. But the clutch pedal pad that the customer got is too big. It just falls right off. I found a part number online, a genuine Mopar part number, and I'm searching for parts locally and nothing available. Same thing with the washer nozzles. I found the windshield washer nozzle kit. Now at least I know what they look like, but that's on eBay, and that's a week to 10 days away for sure. So I'm looking for that windshield washer control wire, and I see this wire not plugged into anything. I'm going to check to see if that's got power on it when I press the washer button, because the washer pump is in the tank over there. It works. It's a little rough, but it works. But we're missing all the nozzles and hose and everything. I have no idea how they route and where it connects, but I'm going to connect the test light to that pigtail. So whatever that wire is, it's powered up with the key on. Not very bright, but it is powered up with the key on. That might be for an under hood light that's not existent as well. These windshield washer nozzles go in the hood. Oh, wait a second, what's this? I assumed they went on the cowl. There they are. They're there. So where's the hose? All right here. So there's the nozzles. They're in the hood. Where are they? So this hood has been off and this has been painted. There's 50-year-old. Yeah, there's the washer nozzles. Let's put a piece of hose on there and see if it works. Well, how would it work? I got no power. Silly me. So I'm going to I hooked a washer hose up to that, or a little hose up. I'm going to put power to the pump. That T is split. It was likely full of water at one time and froze. So the best bet to do here is order a kit the pump is, oh, the power just went off in the shop. Wonderful. Why is the power off? So the other issue with the wipers is they don't park. Oh, got to turn the key on. So there's low, there's high. Watch what happens when I turn them off. They stop up here. Now, if I give them a little help, they will go back down. This molding is interfering with the wiper arms too, but that's secondary. That time they parked. So there's got to be a problem in the motor with the park switch. I'm not sure how it works. I'm waiting for a service manual. He said he had a service manual that might give an explanation as to this chrome trim here is pushed up, and it's keeping the wipers from recessing. Now, personally, the wipers work. The fact that they don't park is a gray area, which the ministry says there are no gray areas when it comes to motor vehicle safety inspection standards. The wipers work on low and high, but they don't park correctly. So, does that pass the safety check? So doing some research online, and this is actually a 3-speed wiper motor. It has low, medium, and high. And it works on all 3 speeds, but it doesn't park properly. It always stops in the upright position, but if you help, it goes down. Reading forums, guys suggested that the wiper motor may not have a good ground. Now there's a ground tab there, and I ran a ground wire to the intake manifold, but that didn't make any difference. There's probably a park switch of some kind internally in the motor, but I'm leery to take this motor apart because it is working, and a new one is not available overnight. So I did find a wiper motor for $500 US, and I disconnected the wiper motor, and there's a 4-wire plug. The wash wire is supposed to be brown, according to the schematic anyways. Windshield washer brown, and it comes from a 8 terminal plug, and this has only got 4. And it doesn't show anything else between the washer, windshield wiper switch. These wiring diagrams are freaking horrible. They don't explain any of the circuits, what they do. They don't show you any switch details or any internal details. It's like working on transport trucks. Well, I can't find the washer pump wire, so I might have to try to follow it back from the switch under the dash. I was thinking maybe it was cut off. There's another plug down here, but the wires go down below, and there's a wire taped up here. What color is that wire? Let's see if it shows the wiper with that 4-wire plug. Yeah, it does, right there. Where's the wiper motor? Red, dark green, dark blue, and brown. So that's not the right wire. But that is the 4-wire plug right there. So we're looking for a different plug with 8 wires in it. Well, would you look at what we have here? I think it's an old Challenger, I think. I'm not sure what this one is. So I was hoping to see if I could find that wire for the washer pump. But I don't see the washer bottle on here. This one's got the horns over here. Mind you, here's a... Oh, that's alternator wiring. Well, let's have a look. I can't find the wire that goes to the washer pump. It probably was on this fender over here, but the washer bottle has been removed. This wire here, I think, is an alternator wire. This was an inline 6, I believe. Black flies are bad. I took the connectors off the firewall. There's 2 8-terminal connectors there, and I can make out the colors of the wires. Maybe I can tell from that. Yeah, and I did get the washer nozzles. So I looked inside. There's no gauges cluster. There's no dash parts. It's all stripped. So there's not much we can take off of this thing. I did take that chrome molding from the bottom of the windshield. It's stainless molding, as the other one's a little warped or something. I don't know if it's the same. I think the other one was held in with sheet metal screws. This one was held in with 3 bolts. So because this was an automatic, it has different brake pedal pad, and obviously doesn't have a clutch. I went to look at the other side, and there's a hornet's nest inside there. So I'm not going in there. So it turns out the owner had a manual. Boy, would this have been nice to have a couple of days ago. Anyways, looking at wiring diagrams, this is the bulkhead connector that's on the Barracuda and a satellite. And this is the connector that I believe has the windshield washer pump. It's either this pin or this pin here. Looking at this connector that I took off that car in the field, there's a brown wire in this location. I can't tell. These ones are all painted and taped up. The other thing that I noticed here, if I go into these wiring diagrams, is for the rally gauges, which this has, there's the back of the instrument cluster and there's no illumination bulbs. If I had seen that, I would have known not to bother going in there. Just high beam indicator, left turn signal, right turn signal, brake warning light, the clock, which doesn't work. Yeah, there's no backlighting on the actual instrument cluster. And that third wire coming off the dimmer goes to a headlight warning alarm, which doesn't work, obviously. So we're not going to worry about that. I also looked through this information, and it's got detailed information on the windshield wiper motor assembly, and it talks about taking it apart. I am very leery to touch this 50-plus-year-old wiper motor because it's working now. I won't have any parts for it, and chances are the cam is worn out or the mechanism has failed in there, and I don't have any parts for it. Their wiper motors are available online, but they're not cheap. They start at about $500 US and go up from there. I'm going to try and see if I can salvage another used one. If I had another assembly to try, I'm sure it's not a wiring problem. That car that I was looking at had the 2-speed wiper motor. This is the 3-speed wiper motor. So we're going to see if we can find this wire in the dash bulkhead connector. This wire here, and see if it's got power when the washer is on. I do have washer nozzles, and I did get that T out of that other vehicle, so maybe we can reuse those. So on here it's a violet brown wire according to that. On this wire from that other car it's brown. I've got the wire pulled out, it's all taped up. I don't see where it goes. It might break out of the harness and it's been taped up, but I've got a test light connected to it sitting on top of the master cylinder here, and key on, and I'm going to operate the windshield washer. Where is the windshield washer button? I'm pressing it repeatedly. So that's the wash wire. It's obviously taped up in the harness and cut off from when the vehicle was customized. So we're gonna run a new wire from there over to the washer pump and ground that. Good grief. So there's the nozzles run, hose run down. I don't know where it's supposed to run, but I ran it along the heater hose over here. I ran the wiring harness along the fender, put it in plastic loom. And I changed that left side nozzle because it was plugged with paint. I could have probably cleaned it, but I had another one from that other car, so I just put it on there. So we're gonna close the hood and see if it works. So we'll turn the key on and see if the washer works. Beautiful. Might clean the right side nozzle out with a torch tip cleaner. That's interesting, it parked that time. Sometimes it parks. Now they were also concerned about the wiper arm touching the hood. The hood's aligned is a little low, but it's barely touching. Hasn't even rubbed the paint off. They should park down like that, but this molding is catching. But that's cosmetic. So all that's left on this thing is the clutch, pedal, pad, and arguably the wiper's not parking properly.